All right, episode 9 of The Fighter and the Writer. I'm Chris Mannix. He is Sergio Mora. He's the fighter. I'm the writer. Back in Los Angeles for this episode. And I'm feeling a little different today, Sergio. I'm in the middle of a multi-day juice cleanse. I don't know if you've ever done a juice cleanse, but I'm right in the middle of it. I'm starting to feel some weirdness going on here.
Well, I'm Mexican, so I don't do no juice cleanses. But what I realize with you people, and by you people, I mean, affluent, East Coast, use your imagination. You people do anything that people recommend just to try to lose weight instead of working out. Just work out, man. Lift weights, work out. I've known you for 7 years. You're always in the gym. You actually got fatter somehow. I don't know how that works. Maybe it's all that sugar with these juices that you're drinking. You need to cut that, man. Cut all that stuff out.
Not all of us have the metabolism of a 15-year-old boy, okay?
That's true.
That's what you have. It's a weird feeling, man, these juice cleanses. You get hungry really fast when you're doing them. But yeah, I'll let you know how it works out. If we got a juice cleanse sponsor, would you do a juice cleanse?
No.
Okay.
I won't do a juice cleanse. They have too much sugar, man. Look, I stick to 3 things: coffee, water, and alcohol. That's it.
All right. That's the breakfast of champions. All right. On this episode, we're going to get into the couple of fight cards that we've got this weekend. You are headed to Las Vegas for one of them. We're going to talk about Jermall Charlo, if he can bounce back and put himself back into the world title picture. Caleb Plant, he is fighting on that card as well. We've got what I think is a fascinating fight between Bek Melikuziev and Darius Fulghum, a title eliminator in Las Vegas. I also want to talk about a stunning retirement over in the UK and some plans in the works, Sergio, for Anthony Joshua to make his ring return. Before we begin, though, I got to give a quick shout out to my guys, the Nolan brothers, Matt and Mark. They're 2 really good promoters in the Boston area, and they're putting on a fight card at Fenway Park on June 7th. There has not been a fight card at Fenway in almost 70 years. Wow. It's incredible. And it was just announced this week that the card will be streamed on DAZN, June 7th, wow, live on DAZN, so you can watch it there. I'm going to Fenway, man. I want to be at a boxing card at Fenway Park. Tommy O'Toole is an undefeated Irish super middleweight. He sells a lot of tickets. He's headlining. Got a great trainer in Mark DeLuca. I've been telling people about Tommy O'Toole. I've been telling you, you know who you are. You watch this show. You listen to this show. Pay attention. Anyway, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait for it. I know you would have liked something.
Find a way to pay me and I'll go. Find a way to pay me and I will be there.
How about this? I will put you up in my Boston estate.
I've been there. It's a great estate, but no, pay me and I'll be there. I'll probably be the only Mexican there, and you need a Mexican. So just in case.
I'm not. You will be the only Mexican there. That's true.
It's going to be a Mexican and a bunch of juice cleansers. But I'm there, man. If you pay me, find a way to pay me, I'll be there. I love me some Boston.
We'll work it out. All right, on Saturday, an interesting card out in Las Vegas. Caleb Plant, the former super middleweight champion, he will headline, and we'll get to that. But in the co-main event, we've got Jermall Charlo, the former middleweight champion, who will take on Thomas Cornflake Lamanna in a super middleweight fight. We know the story with Charlo. Chronically inactive, 1 fight since 2021, has not fought since November of 2023, been dealing with a ton of personal issues in his life, but he is still a name. He is still undefeated. He is still a former 2-division world title holder. And if he wins, he will most likely get a crack at Caleb Plant later this year. Sergio, Charlo is 35 years old. Can he get his career back on track?
Can he? Yes. Will he? No. I hate to say that because, look, he's already in his mid-30s. He's 35 years old. Inactivity robs the greatness of careers. We've seen that with Josh Taylor recently. So it doesn't matter if he's unbeaten, undefeated, 2-division champion, all the accolades you just mentioned. Inactivity takes confidence. Forget the mental health struggles, the personal issues, the legal disputes. These are all things, even active fighters go through, It's the inactivity. When you're out of that ring, when you're not getting hit, when you're not training, when you're not doing what you've been doing since you're a kid, that's your job, man. You get depressed. And when you get depressed, that's when all the vices come. The drinking, the womanizing, the gambling, all that other stuff that's going to take you away from the hunger of fighting to the issues that Charlo and many other fighters face in their lifetime when they go through that dark side. So because of that, I don't think he comes back to a championship level. He's going to get knocked off by one of these up and coming hungry guys, because you can't have 3 fights in 5 years or whatever it's been with Charlo. I mean, this is an undefeated, hungry champion that was marketable. You know, him and his brother had that meanness, that lions only, you know, barking all the way to the ring. You know, they were scary. Now they're getting slapped by Caleb Plant, and they're just not doing nothing. You know, these guys are not what they used to be, and that's because of their outside life, man. It's because of their outside life and their issues and struggles, and it catches up to you, man. You burn the candle at both ends. It's only a matter of time before it catches up to you. So I think life, not boxing, life has TKO'd Jermall Charlo.
Yeah, I agree with you. The inactivity is a killer. I mean, there was a time that I believed that Jermall Charlo had top 10 pound for pound potential. His resume at 160 is not great, but back in 2020, he beat Sergey Derevyanchenko. At that point, that was a pretty big win. And he's one of the few guys that has beaten Derevyanchenko cleanly. From that moment, I thought, all right, well, this could be the time for Charlo at 30 years old to make a run. And then he had that lackluster performance against Juan Macias Montiel. He had the even more lackluster performance against Jose Benavidez in 2023, in between just some really long breaks. I don't know if the inactivity led to the vices, kind of like what you're saying, or the vices led to the inactivity. I'm not sure which is which. Maybe it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
But either way, I think the inactivity and the wear and tear on his body has robbed him of whatever potential he might have, of whatever possibilities that might have existed for Jermall Charlo 5 years ago. I think now, really the best chance he has is to cash in one more time. And that's what this card is really a setup for, right? Like, Caleb Plant, we'll get to him, but he's in a relatively low-level fight. This Cornflake LaManna fight, like, no disrespect to Cornflake, but it's a similar type of fight as Charlo faced with Jose Benavidez, where it was a smaller guy being asked to come up in weight, a guy with a semi-name who is being lined up for what should be a relatively easy victory for Jermall Charlo. I think best case scenario for Jermall is that he gets that Caleb Plant fight later this year. All the bad blood between these two guys, it bubbles up. The storylines are everywhere. Two of the bigger names in that weight class going at it. That's a chance for him to make 7 figures in that fight. I think that's the best case scenario because I don't think he beats Caleb Plant. And I think there's a chance. Look, if he looks bad against Cornflake LaManna, or God forbid he loses against Cornflake, that's it. It's a wrap. It's kind of similar to what we saw a couple of weeks ago with Josh Taylor. Like, Josh Taylor had a chance moving up in weight to face a domestic level average fighter, and he lost. If Charlo loses this fight, it's done for him. So I think the best case scenario for him is, hey, we get through this fight, Plant gets through this fight, we quickly schedule a fight between us two, and I would imagine that would probably be the end of Jermall Charlo.
No, it will be the end. You know, you were talking about the vices and what comes first. There's a verse in the Bible that, of course, my coach Dino told me about. Idle hands is the devil's workshop, something like that. And basically, that's what's been happening to Jermall Charlo. You know, he's been idle on the sidelines. He hasn't been doing what he's great at, and that's boxing, using his hands, fighting. He's been doing other things. And once that catches up to you, the hunger goes out the window, and then the need creeps in the door. Fighters don't want to fight out of need. When fighters fight out of need and for money, they get hurt and they don't look good. That's what Charlo's doing. He's fighting for need. He's not fighting to be the best anymore. He's not fighting to get respect, to prove people wrong. Or else he would have slapped the hell out of a Plant instinctively. As soon as, man, you slap me right now. I'm in my 40s. I'm slapping whoever tries to slap me. Because it's just instinct for a fighter that still has something in them. But when you just sit there and take it and look down and be docile, the fighter's already taken out of you. The fighter and the fight has been taken out of you. So I agree with you with the last payday. It ain't going to be a good look, but it's going to be a great payday. Plant will probably stop him, if not Charlo find a way out. But Caleb Plant's mean. Caleb Plant is a real one. You know, he's an alpha. And he's the type of guy that's been looking great. Only lost against two beasts in Benavidez and Canelo. Charlo's not going to do nothing for him moving up from 154 all the way to 168. So, yeah, that'll be a cash-out fight for Charlo. It'll be a goodbye payday for him. But I think mentally, and physically and in his heart, the fight game has already taken the best out of Jermall Charlo.
Yeah, I'd love to sit here and say that I believe that the fire can come back. It's just that we didn't see a lot of fire in that fight against Jose Benavidez. In fact, he blew the catch weight for that fight. He missed the weight, coming back off a long layoff. Now he's going in with Lamana. And look, I think Charlo, even at even a lesser version of himself, probably beats Lamana. But if he's not careful, like for Cornflake Lamana, I've heard him do some interviews. Like, this is it. Like, this is it for him. This is his opportunity to shock the world. Do I think he does it? No, but he's going to come and throw everything but the kitchen sink at Jermall in this fight. I didn't see a lot of fire in the Montiel fight, and that was back in 2021. I didn't see a lot of fire in the Benavidez fight in 2023. I don't know why we should expect to see that fire return just because there's a potential big payday down the line waiting for him. All right, so let's talk about that payday. Caleb Plant headlining this card. Jose Resendez, pretty low-level fight for Caleb Plant in this, interim title defense at 168 pounds. Ring Magazine, Sergio, recently published its super middleweight rankings. Canelo Alvarez, naturally, was at the top. After that, it was Christian Mbili. It was Diego Pacheco. It was Osle Iglesias, who is probably only known to the hardcore fan base.
Oh, my goodness. I never heard of the third one. I'm sorry.
Plant was sitting there, Sergio.
Munguia or something like that. Not Julio Iglesias.
No, it's not Julio Iglesias. That's somebody else. Plant was listed in these rankings at number 5. Now, Caleb was very sharp, I think, on social media. He reposted the list, noting that he has accomplished more than anyone there besides Canelo Alvarez, and called it more motivation. So, Sergio, I think you've already answered this, but does Caleb Plant deserve to be higher on that 168-pound list?
Higher than number 2?
Higher than... No, not number 2. Higher than number 5.
No, he's number 2.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, he needs to be higher because I think I put him above Mbili, Pacheco, Munguia, and anyone else because he has a resume. He's already...
What's Iglesias' first name?
It ain't Julio because that's a famous singer that I was just making fun of.
I thought for sure you'd say Enrique, but we'll...
No, man. I knew that joke was going to go over your head, but Iglesias or over him, over Munguia, over anybody else because he has a resume, man. He's fought the 2 absolute best super middleweights that already moved up to light heavyweight. So that's it. That right there puts him at number 2 easily. Now, the ones before that, I got to give Caleb Plant and Team Caleb Plant a lot of credit because since he won that title from Muskategi, he was fighting the Subway guy in Mike Lee. He was fighting guys that no one has ever heard of in Vincent Feigenboots. He was fighting guys that he should have been, an oversized, older, former champion in Caleb Truax. He was getting an easy ride to the top, the payday, that big payday he got Canelo. But he deserved it, man. Caleb Plant deserved it. Then he goes and fights another monster in Benavidez. But I'll tell you what, man. What prepared him for that monster is not only Canelo, but I think his toughest fight outside of Canelo and David Benavidez was Darrell, man. Darrell's a real one. I've known Darrell since the amateur days. That was a solid win. Not only that, it was knockout of the year type. So that right there, that pushes him to the front of the line because those names right there that everyone has known gets him at number 2. And there's no shame being under Canelo Alvarez, the undisputed champion at super middleweight. So Caleb Plant is a dog. And I think everyone in boxing understands that, respects that. Mexicans respect him. This dude's serious, man. And he earned that top spot, waiting in the wing all this time, biding his time. And he's just been perfectly maneuvered to that $10 million payday that he had against Canelo. I don't know what he made against Benavidez, but he deserved it. He deserves that money. He deserves this number 2 spot.
Yeah, rankings should be a meritocracy. It shouldn't be based on potential. Do I think that Iglesias has the potential to be a great fighter at 68? Absolutely. I've watched some tape on him. He's a dog in the ring. We've done a lot of Diego Pacheco fights. I think we both believe that the sky's the limit for Diego Pacheco. Christian Mbili, even though he didn't look great in his last fight against Sergey Derevyanchenko, certainly the potential to be a top guy. None of those guys have the resume of a Caleb Plant. The only thing they have better than Caleb Plant is an undefeated record. That's it. That's all they got going for them right now when stacked up against Caleb Plant. I'm with you. I've long been of the belief that the belief, I guess. I'm much more impressed by Caleb Plant in his last 4 fights when he's gone 2-2 than I was during his first 21 fights when he went undefeated.
I agree.
Because in his last 4 fights, he went head-to-head with Canelo Alvarez, got knocked out, but hey, that happens. He went against Pete Canelo.
He
at
went out on
168
his
pounds.
shield, too.
Went out on his shield, right? Had some success in the early rounds, and then eventually went out on his shield. Fights David Benavidez when nobody was fighting David Benavidez. No real title on the line for that fight, but gets in the ring with David Benavidez, won some early rounds, had some success early in that fight, but then, as everybody at 168 pounds eventually does, succumbed to the overwhelming output and the power of Benavidez. Finishes the fight, but gets beat up. In between, he beats Anthony Durrell, a former champion, knocks him out. One of the best knockouts you've seen in the last few years. He knocks out Trevor McCumbee, undefeated at that time. I'm just, this guy is stacking together good fight after good fight. Doesn't win them all, but I've always said I much prefer guys that are taking tough fights and losing than the guys that are lining up nobodies in winning. And that's not a dig at any of the Iglesiases and the Mbilis and the Pachecos. They're not even there yet. They're at that C level right now, B- level guys that they're fighting. But they haven't fought the guys that Caleb Plant has fought. Even though Caleb has lost a couple of fights, I still think he belongs above them in any super middleweight ranking.
I agree. And I think he has a lot left in the tank because he's not had many fights. I mean, we already looked at his resume. He has under 25 fights, I believe. He's only 32 years old. He has a lot of career left. As soon as Canelo calls it a career, this man's next. He's going to be from number 2, number 1. And I could see him dominating super middleweight for at least another 2, 3, 4 years because he doesn't have wear and tear. He has that long amateur pedigree. He has that boxer style with that jab and that movement. So he can easily go into his mid-30s, being in the top 3. So Caleb Plant has a lot of career left, no wear and tear. 2 fights that he went into the late rounds against monsters in Benavidez and Canelo. And then he's handled everyone else. So all respect to Caleb Plant and what he's done in his career and his movers, his managers, everyone that's been a part of it. Because like you said, the beginning of his career was kind of like eyebrow up in the air, like there's another guy
with a good jab, decent amateur background.
Taken care of, not just being maneuvered to a world title, but not really facing anybody. Not only that, but inactivity. He hasn't really been that active in the last 5 years, even though he has fought those 2 guys. In the last 5-6 years, it's been like 1.5 fights a year. If Caleb Plant gets more active, and which is scary because he looks good even when he's not active, that's because he lives a clean lifestyle. He's probably a gym rat, and he's a family man. So that's the reason he can be inactive, still look good and sharp after only fighting, once every one in a year. But he has a lot of career left. I think Caleb Plant is a real one.
I agree. I like the addition of Stephen Edwards to his team.
I agree.
I think that's a good voice. There's good chemistry between those two. He fought really well on the inside against Trevor McCumbee. That's something we haven't seen from him up until this point in his career. And I think things are kind of lining up really well for Caleb Plant to kind of make a little bit of a star turn here. Like you've got this Resendez fight, whatever. Resendez, not a very good fighter, knocked out 2 fights earlier at 160 pounds, probably going to get stopped in this fight. Caleb Plant should look really good headlining this fight. Fast forward to what we just talked about. Caleb Plant against Jermall Charlo. Caleb Plant's going to be a big favorite going into that fight. Could be the first guy to beat Charlo, could stop Charlo, could be a real coming out party in a way for Caleb Plant. And then next year, if Edgar Berlanga beats Hamza Shiraz, how good is an Edgar Berlanga-Caleb Plant fight? I mean, the bad blood, there's a river of bad blood between those 2 guys. Like, they hate each other. The buildup would be fantastic. It's a solid pay-per-view. And I'd make Caleb Plant a favorite in that fight, too. So you've got 3 good fights, solid fights, 2 really solid fights for Caleb Plant that could get him to like 28-0 and be in a position to be the face of the super middleweight division once Canelo walks.
You said it right. And not only that, but he has a lot of things going for him. Not only that he doesn't have wear and tear, he has the boxing ability, he has the meanness, that chip on his shoulder. But he hits a different demographic. I mean, he's from where's he from? Like the
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
No boxers come out of Nashville, Tennessee. I mean that's known for whiskey and country music, not boxing. This dude comes out of there.
I think there are some boxers that do come out of Tennessee. But
well, yeah. I mean, name one.
Caleb Plant.
Caleb Plant. Exactly. So that's what he has going from country boy with meanness and a chip on his shoulder. I mean, he's very marketable.
Yeah.
Just put it that way. So yeah, man, Caleb Plant has a high ceiling and a lot more money to be earned and made.
All right. On Friday, you'll be in Las Vegas. Good luck to the roulette tables
I'm coming, baby.
on that night. They're probably going to have a
Speaking
big night.
of which, do you have my money for today? Because you haven't paid me for like many podcasts.
I have not paid you.
There's an
That's
ATM
correct.
downstairs because I'm blowing that on the roulette table as soon as I land.
So why would I give it to you? I'm going to blow it right away. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Friday night, though, really fascinating fight in the super middleweight division. Bek Melikuziev is going to take on Darius Fulghum in 168-pound title eliminator. Now, you look at these guys on paper, and you say, all right, it makes sense. Bek is 15-1. Fulghum is 14-0. You probably say, okay, solid matchup between two contenders at 168. But for Fulghum, this is going to be, I believe, his fourth 10-round fight. His best win, probably Christopher Pearson, if we're going to make a list of the guys that he's beaten. Bek Melikuziev has been fighting in 4-round fights since his fourth professional fight. He already fought in one scheduled 12-round fight. He got knocked out by Gabe Rosado, but he came back and beat Gabe in a pretty wide decision. So I'm looking at this fight, Sergio. I'm going, is this too much too soon for Darius Fulghum? What would you say to that?
No, I don't think so. I like this kid, man. I think his moniker, Destined for Greatness, is a good one. He has a great head on his shoulder, not only because he's an educated kid and he says all the right things, he's articulate, but he has power. He has confidence. He comes in shape. He has a great promoter. They're moving him nicely. And I just think he's been getting better and better instead of the opposite. You know, whenever you get fighters that start hitting that 15-0 mark and their power is still carrying, just like Fulghum's is, he has a high knockout ratio. So that means the power's real. So the power's not just against guys that he's supposed to knock out. That's one. He's already beaten solid names, fringe contender names. That's two.
Very fringe.
Very
fringe.
Maybe number 16, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. You know, that's a feather in his cap too. Bek the Bully's going to be the best name on his resume. He's going to be up for this fight. You can bet that Fulghum's going to be up for this fight. But the main thing going from, aside from youth and height and the vigor that he has of a young man, he's been busy. Like you said, 4 fights last year. He's already going to stay busy this fight around. And Bek the Bully has a lot to prove. And since he's already been knocked out, you know, there's been a little change in his style. You know, he's not as aggressive as he used to be. You know, he's in lunge in, which is probably a good thing. But that's what made him, you know, the bully. You know, even as an Olympian, which normally that style doesn't translate in the Olympics. He won a silver medal with that style, with that aggressive, hard punch into the body, switching stances, lunging in. That was his style. Now he seemed to kind of adapt into a different style, kind of looking for a jab now, setting up the power. So he doesn't surprise, you know, fighters that much anymore. And I just think Fulghum's going to be all right in this fight with his height, the experience, the power that is real, and the fact that Bek's been knocked out. And I think Fulghum's going to be just fine.
I think it's too much too soon.
Really?
I give Darius a lot of credit. We both like Darius a lot. He is not only a talented fighter, really smart kid, got his nursing degree, really well-spoken, going to make a great commentator someday. And I think there is the potential in him to be a world championship level fighter. Bernard Hopkins has loved this kid from the start, has been backing him from the very beginning. That's high praise from a great fighter like Bernard Hopkins. But to me, this is a pretty big jump in class. Like his last couple of fights against the Christopher Pearsons, against the Alantez Foxes, they're not on the level of Bek Melikuziev. And look, I think a lot of people are looking at Bek's last fight against David Stevens. And Bek did not look good in that fight. Went the distance, did not look good. A lot of people thought Stevens may have won that fight. What I was told immediately after the fight was that, hey, this wasn't the real Bek. This was a fight that Bek took on very short notice because he wanted to fight. He had to drop something like 30 pounds in a short training camp, had to cut down a weight. He was on vacation when he got the call to take that fight. So I almost put that off to the side. And if you do that, you know, some of the guys that Bek is stopping, look, Alantez Fox, shared opponent. Bek stopped Fox in the 4th round. Fulghum went the distance with Fox after the Bek fight. I think Fulghum's a good boxer, maybe even a better boxer But I think the pressure that Bek is going to put on this fight is going to be something that Fulghum has never seen before. I think the body punching that Bek is going to use in this fight is going to be the kind of stuff Fulghum has never experienced before. I think this is a really, really tough fight for Darius Fulghum. I don't think it's going to be a lopsided fight. It's like a 55-45 type of favor for me for Bek, but I like Bek to win. In fact, I think Bek might stop him. I think Bek might stop him in this fight.
You're the same guy that said that Charlie Suarez was going to get eliminated by Emmanuel Navarrete.
You don't have to take a victory lap on every
I'm going to take a victory lap because, look,
guesses you get right.
After that fight gets overturned, you're going to bow in front of everybody. You're going to bow. You're going to bow to everybody.
First of all, I'd never bow, but it's not getting overturned.
Anyway, I'm the one that said Charlie Suarez was going to do that, and I think.
Do you want me to break out your greatest hits of misses? I can do that.
I think Fulghum is going to be just fine because Fulghum just knocked out a southpaw 2 fights ago, so he has that going for him. Bek the Bully is not an upper body mover. He does most of his moving with his lower body, which is great. I mean, a lot of these Uzbek fighters with this Olympic pedigree, they have brilliant footwork, man. But the upper body movement is a little stiff on Bek, and I think that's going to work into the hands of Fulghum. Fulghum, if he decides to throw the jabs, set up the power, be patient against a guy that you're going to have your hands full, there's not going to be an easy fight for Fulghum. It's going to go into the later rounds, if not the distance. But it's going to be a fight where he's going to lose rounds, he's going to get tested, but he's going to ultimately overcome it because I just think he has the right style to do that against a shorter fighter, much shorter fighter in Bek. If he can keep him on the outside, block and counter. That's going to be the main thing. Block and counter those body punches. If you see Bek the Bully start landing left and right hands, in combinations to the body, it's not going to be a good look for Darius Fulghum. But if you see Fulghum catch and counter that first body shot, he has a game plan. He's going to come to win. And if he's popping that jab, I'm gonna slightly favor a DFG on this one. I think Fulghum's special.
Last few fights for Darius Fulghum. Winifred Harris, whatever. Christopher Pearson, thought he'd be better than he was. That was a good performance by Fulghum. Vaughn Alexander, one of those guys that goes the distance with everybody.
Tough as hell.
Christian Olivas, 22-10 going into that fight. Alantez Fox, who we mentioned. Pacino Hill. Maybe the talent in Fulghum is there. I just don't think we've seen it against anyone on the level of Bek Melikuziev. And I am really interested to see what happens when Bek backs him up and puts him against the ropes and starts landing those body shots. Does he catch and counter? Is he able to spin out and outbox him? Look, I don't think he knocks Bek out. I think his best chance to win is probably a decision. But I think there's a decent chance Bek can get to him. I do. I really think so, Sergio.
Hey, listen, that's why this fight's intriguing, and hats off to Golden Boy Promotions, who's always matching up their fighters tough.
This is a sink-or-swim fight.
No matter what. Both fighters have a lot to
100%.
prove here. Not only Fulghum has to prove that he's the goods, but Bek the Bully already got knocked out by a non-puncher in Gabe Rosado. So he's been knocked out by one punch before. Fulghum is a natural bigger fighter. Fulghum is a natural puncher. So that's another thing going for Darius Fulghum. The fact that he's in there with a guy that's already had his chin cracked against a guy that can't crack.
Fulghum's kind of one of those guys too that's a late starter in the boxing game. Like for Bek, boxing is basically life. Like he's part of that Uzbeki crew that parachuted into Indio, California, and works out at the Diaz brothers gym. I don't know. Like it's a sink or swim fight. It's a sink or swim fight for both these guys. No question about it. I'm fascinated to see how it all plays out.
And I'm thrilled that I'll be in Las Vegas calling it, and you won't.
Yeah, I'm thrilled about that too, to not be anywhere near you for this weekend. All right, I want to ask you about one of the weirdest stories that I saw this week. Delicious Ori, who? Exactly. Great name. Doesn't sound like a real name.
That's his real name. It's not a nickname.
It's not a nickname.
Delicious Ori.
Delicious Ori. Former Olympian in the most recent Olympians, heavyweight prospect. A lot of promoters were trying to sign him coming out of the Olympics. He fought just this past April on an undercard over in the UK. Frank Warren ultimately signed him. Wins his pro debut in April. I think it was on the Filip Hrgovic card against Joe Joyce. And decided this week that was enough. Decided this week that he was going to retire. Ori said, quote, "I hope that turning professional would reignite the passion, but the truth has become clear. It hasn't. Every fighter knows you need a deep love for the craft to reach the top, and without it, there's no path forward. Out of respect for the sport and for myself, It's time to step away with honesty, end quote. He added that he intends to get a 9-to-5 job now, and he has a degree, I guess, in economics, that he's not going to try another combat sport, try anything else. He is going to enter the workforce and get out of boxing. I'm not going to ask you to analyze the potential of Delicious Ori, but what do you think of a prospect recently signed to Queensberry, calling it a day after one professional fight?
With a name like Delicious Ori entering the workforce, I don't care. He's a college MBA, man. You're going to have trouble, Mr. Delicious. All right, so you better...
It depends on the workforce.
You better change your name unless you're going to go into like stripping or male dancing. But yeah, anyway, Mr. Ori, I applaud you. I applaud you for your decision because boxing is a tough sport that can take brain cells, and you got expensive brain cells, man. So not only was he a graduate, but he was a graduate with honors, man.
Yeah.
So 2020 honors college graduate. So yeah, man, I think this kid realizes that he's going to get hurt in the sport. I don't care what accolades you bring as an amateur, as an Olympian. I don't care if you have Frank Warren and Queensberry. I don't care if you got the best of the best in your corner. If you have no hunger, which he obviously doesn't have hunger for boxing, but he has hunger for high aspirations outside of boxing, I applaud that young man. I'm glad that he realized it too early rather than too late, because a lot of fighters put all their eggs in that one boxing basket. Next thing you know, they're 25, 26, 27 years old. They got no work experience. They have no education, certainly no college education. And then they get thrown back out there in the alley with nothing to do. What do? They become boxing trainers, or they get work a 9-to-5 in a warehouse. But it happens all the time in boxing and in other sports. So I applaud young, gifted and talented fighters, athletes, whatever you want to call them, that are more students in life than fighters in life, because, you know, being a student in life is going to get you a lot farther, and you're going to have much more success, you know, putting your eggs and that brain in another basket. So I applaud this man. Only change your name, man, because that Delicious is going to take away from your graduate degree.
Look, I don't know about
Delicious, man. How about you? It's like, if he's Delicious, what's your nickname? Distasteful Mannix. Delicious.
What would your nickname be?
I don't know. Let me think about it. DiGiorno. I don't know.
I've got a few thoughts. Look, the reality of boxing is that if you don't need boxing to succeed, to escape circumstances, and you can speak to this, more likely than not, you're not going to make it long-term in boxing at the highest level. Just go down the list of all the great fighters, just to say the current era or the most recent era, like Floyd Mayweather, Grand Rapids, Michigan, needed boxing. Manny Pacquiao in the Philippines, like stories about him eating dogs in the Philippines, like just to get out of poverty, needed boxing. Canelo Alvarez, Guadalajara, needed boxing. Go down the list. Terrence Crawford, all these guys that needed boxing at a young age and use it to better themselves. Good for that. And I put you on that list as well. Like before I continue, would you agree, like, you needed boxing to succeed at that point?
No, I was a gifted student too. You know, I skipped second grade.
Yeah,
I had a lot of things going for me.
Though. You weren't doing anything.
No, I was lazy.
Yes, this is the point. But like, if you didn't have boxing, where would you be? This is kind of my thing.
I would be a college graduate. I'll be honest with you. I'll be a college graduate. I'll have a 9-to-5.
Thank you for ruining
my on my shoulders, man. It's just you know, I had the right people put into my life, and I'm not going to start talking about myself. I had the right people put into my life that told me to stay boxing, to give it a go, and then if that didn't work out, you know, by the time I was in 24, 25, my mid-20s, I can always go back to college. I can always go back to being what I wanted to be, you know, and it worked out. It worked out for me. So I applaud this young man because he realized he didn't have to get to his early 20s. He realized right now it's not for me.
He didn't have to take a bunch of beatings before he realized that it
and a bunch of scars. Look at my face, man. I look like Edward Scissorhands. This kid,
I'd rather not.
You know.
I'd like
so
to
yeah,
pass.
man. No, he's gonna avoid the scars, avoid all the beatings, all the wear and tear that you have to put your body through, and the disappointments, man. Even in victories, you have disappointments. There's so many ups and downs in boxing that even before you make it or make some money, there's going to be a lot more lows than highs. So yeah, man, this kid realized it early, and you got to really.
I mean, my point is most successful boxers grow up in poverty. Most successful boxers use boxing to escape that poverty. if you're a fighter like Delicious Ori, who graduates in 2020 with a degree in economics, no less, with an opportunity to make real money in the real world, doing something that doesn't require you to get punched in the face as a heavyweight. He's a heavyweight too. Like to get punched in the face hard, potentially get hurt, have the rest of your life potentially impacted by your time in that sport. I think he's doing the right thing. I mean, I can probably count on one hand the number of guys that I've covered who have come from either middle-class-ish backgrounds or had a college degree. I remember covering Calvin Brock back in the day. Remember Calvin Brock?
Calvin Brock.
The boxing banker.
We were in the Olympic trials together.
But another guy, like, Calvin Brock, was a banker, got a degree, had a life outside boxing. Like, he didn't need the sport as badly as some other fighters need the sport. If you don't need the sport, and he already said this in his statement, like, I don't have the fire, I don't have the passion, I shouldn't insult the sport by staying in. I think that's a good idea to get out. But it is remarkable to see a guy go from the Olympics to being a sought-after professional prospect to fighting one fight, 4-rounder, getting a win, and then saying that's a wrap. Deciding then. That's the strange part about all this. Not that he would quit. Like, a lot of guys quit after the amateurs. They say, I just don't have it in me. And he didn't win a medal or anything like that in the Olympics. So he could have easily walked away and maybe nobody would have cared. But to get signed by Frank Warren and to fight a pro fight and then to quit, that's the strange part of the story.
No, it's very strange, and that's the thing that I'm talking about. That's why I'm applauding this young man, because normally it's when you don't have the right things being put in your life that giving you the signal that you're going in the right direction. This man, I got everything that any young prospect, any boxer wanted. The promoter, the Olympics. I mean, I dreamed of being signed by a big promoter. Nope, I came up short in the Olympic trials. That didn't happen. I didn't get the big signing bonus. That didn't happen. He got all three. He had that road already paved for him, that golden road that a lot of boxers, a lot of amateurs don't get. He got it, and it still had the intelligence and the whereabouts to say that this is not for me, just that one fight. That is intelligence that I can't speak for, but I know that he has character. I can already tell. I just know that his name's not going to get him very far.
What happened to that college degree of yours?
I never got it. I'm 3 units away. I'm like pre-algebra away. Numbers confuse me, Chris Mannix. Numbers confuse me. I'm a wordsmith. I'm a wordsmith and a philosopher. But once a number and a letter started being with each other, like in algebra, that's when I got confused.
It usually starts in high school.
And then that acronym, my dear Aunt Sally, confused the hell out of me.
Okay. Couple things I want to get your take on before we get the hell out of here.
My brain works that way, man. I don't know how it works.
All right, so this month we learned that Anthony Joshua will have surgery to repair some damage to his elbow. When he returns, though, he may have a new 2-fight deal with Riyadh Season. Eddie Hearn confirming talks with Turki Al-Sheikh about a new deal with AJ. Among the names being mentioned for AJ's next fight are Jarrett Anderson and Dillian White. And of course, everyone is wondering if Tyson Fury will return to the ring. What do you think of the idea of AJ returning against either Jarrett Anderson or Dillian White?
Depends which one he's going to come back with. Because I think if he comes back against Anderson, it's going to be tricky. Because Joshua still has maybe one big mega fight, hopefully against Tyson Fury, left. But Jarrett Anderson could ruin those plans. Because Anderson, we expected him to do better against Bakoli. But he got knocked out. But he bounced back. I love when fighters bounce back within a matter of months. He didn't let a year pass by wallowing, then, I didn't get knocked out. There's another Olympian. No, he got back. He got another win.
He didn't get back that quickly. He got knocked out in August. He came back in late February. He did not look good.
But that's less than a year.
All right, but he didn't look great in that fight either. A lot of people came away from that fight against Colias thinking that, maybe Jarrett Anderson, still some residual effect from the Bakoli
He got
fight.
back, man. He didn't wallow in sorrow. He licked his wounds and got back up there. I don't care how much he struggled. Actually, him going 10 rounds is going to benefit him in his next fight. But I like that. That means he's still hungry. He still wants to reach the highest levels of boxing. He still wants to fight the best. So I think Anderson is going to be a tricky fight for AJ. So I wouldn't recommend him to fight him first. Dillian White, he should fight first. Even though Dillian White is on a scary trajectory right now. He's on a run right now. He's winning some fights. He deserves that fight. Dillian White's on a run right now. But he's already been beaten by AJ. So there's familiarity right there by Anthony Joshua. So if you are going to take those 2 fights, go for Dillian White, who's long in the tooth. He has momentum, but you already been in the ring with him. You felt that power. So go after Dillian White, which I love that fight at this stage of Joshua's career. And then, of course, that Anderson fight, just experience and size alone should be enough. But those are two good fights, and I love the fact that Joshua's still, looking in that direction. The old road warriors, the veterans, and then, of course, the young, hungry guys with the high aspirations like Anderson.
Dillian White has been winning a few fights as of late. He's got that win.
4 fights straight, I
Three
think.
in a row. Jermaine Franklin, Christian Hammer, Ebenezer Teta with, look, let's be honest, a positive banned substance test mixed in there in between that caused the derailing of that fight against Joshua, what was it, a couple of years ago. I do think it still is the most marketable fight and probably the best fight for AJ because he has looked chinny, Dillian White, in some of his recent fights. Got knocked out in that fight against Alexander Povetkin, got knocked out by Tyson Fury in their fight. So I think that's a smart fight for AJ to take and do a big crowd probably still in the UK and allow him to get some of that momentum back. I'd be fine with Anderson because I just don't think Anderson is – I don't think he's shown that he's that guy. And maybe he'll turn out to be. Maybe
you thought he was that guy before Martin Bacoli.
I did.
You were praising him to heaven and back.
I did. Look, he showed a lot of talent. And look, Top Rank is really good at matching fighters. They're probably the best in the business when it comes to matchmaking. They match-made him really well leading up to that point. It says something that everyone within Top Rank was saying we shouldn't do this fight against Martin Bacoli. But money talks, and Jared Anderson took the fight. And I don't know what has changed in Jared Anderson since that fight. Like, how much did that knockout loss take out of Bacoli? Look, he got a win, you're right, in his next time out, but he didn't look good in that fight. So I didn't come away from his most recent win thinking Jared Anderson's back, let's put him right back into a big fight. So I think if AJ went that route against Jared Anderson, that'd be a pretty good fight for him too. The question, of course, is when or if Tyson Fury comes back in the picture. I mean, we all thought Tyson Fury was coming back a couple of weeks ago. All of a sudden, he's on vacation, in Italy? He's at Lake Como, posting videos, making comments, saying, I'm not coming back. Do we think that's just, he's playing a little misdirection there?
Of course he is. I mean, Tyson Fury's the king of misdirection, and he's a great promoter. He knows how to retire, come back. He's a circus barker. Is that what you call those guys?
Carnival barker.
Carnival barker. He's one of those carnival barkers that's gonna make always gonna make the show. So I think Tyson Fury's the man could fight. He's already earned his stripes. He's been the baddest man on the planet. He's fought the absolute best, and he has the mouth too. So no, he'll be back. He just knows how to work the system, work the game, and he's a master promoter. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll be back. The money is going to be too good for an AJ fight. It actually might be better for AJ to get a win before facing a Tyson Fury. I mean, let's not forget that Tank Dubois loss wasn't just a loss. That was a brutal knockout. That was, I would say, a worse knockout than the one AJ suffered against Andy Ruiz.
No, that was a beating.
Well,
Ruiz
that was
put a beating on him.
Ruiz put a beating, but so did Danny Dubois. Dubois knocked him down a few times.
Here's the thing, Mannix. In boxing, what takes more out of you is not a one-punch knockout.
You didn't think the Dubois fight was a beating?
No. He was in the fight. He was winning the fight. He got knocked.
He was not winning the fight. He got knocked down like two times prior.
He wasn't taking a beating. Yeah, but those knockdowns, it wasn't a beating. The Andy Ruiz fight was a beating. That takes miles out of you. That takes years out of you. And one-punch knockouts, that you can bounce back from those.
We can agree to disagree. I thought the Dubois fight was worse for AJ, both because of the punishment he took in the first 5 rounds leading up to the knockout and then just getting flattened with that one shot. Going down face first, it's tough when guys do that.
At this point of your career, in your mid-30s, after already being knocked out, this many fights as a professional, yeah, Anthony Joshua only has maybe 2, maybe 3 fights left. He better make the most money he can. They better be calculated because I don't think we're going to see much of Anthony Joshua. I don't think he has much left.
All right, last thing. Sugar Nunez is now the new IBF 130-pound champion. He goes over to Japan, gets a unanimous decision win over Masanori Rikishi. Nunez, terrifying puncher. Went the distance in this fight, which was a little bit surprising. But he is one of the biggest punchers at 130 pounds, one of the biggest punchers from 130 pounds down. So now he's got a belt. And the guy I want to see Nunez in with is Raymond Ford, the former 126-pound champion, also signed with Matchroom, has looked good in his recent fights. Great boxer, walking guys down. Raymond Ford's been out there calling for his fight. I was messaging with some of Raymond Ford's guys before we came on the air, and they said, let's do it. We got nothing scheduled right now for Raymond Ford. Let's put that fight on the books as soon as possible. Do you like a Nunes-Raymond Ford fight next?
I absolutely love that fight, man. And the balls, can I curse? Yeah, the balls on Raymond Ford, man. The fights that he's been taking back to back. I mean, he's been taking tough fights even before the Kolmotov fight, even before the Nick Ball, even before those fights. He's been taking against winners, undefeated fighters. He's been passing the test every single time. Now he's in a fight of the year that he just came past from. Raymond Ford's the real deal, man. He is the real deal, and he's only getting more confident, stronger, better now in a different weight class. And Sugar Nunes, what do I tell you about these guys from Sinaloa? What do I tell you about these Mexicans from Los Mochis? I'm telling you right now, that will be another fight of the year if Ray Ford takes this fight against Nunes. And I would, Nunes would take this fight. It's Ray Ford that I'm surprised would want to take this fight, but he sees something, and that would be another fight of the year candidate, man. That's power versus speed. That's a mongoose versus just a guy that's a wrecking ball in Nunes. Man, that's a matchmaker's dream and a fan's dream, a boxing fan's dream on the smaller level at 130, man. Give me that fight.
Well, ever since the Kolmotov fight, Raymond Ford has really trusted his chin. I think that Kolmotov fight taught Ray Ford that he could get hit and keep moving forward, to steal a Rocky Balboa phrase. I think before that, he was a more defensive fighter. He was unwilling to get touched, unwilling to take one, to give one. Since he walked down Kolmotov and won that belt at 126, he's been a very different fighter. Did lose to Nick Ball. That was fine, fair and square. Probably wouldn't have taken that fight against Nick Ball if it wasn't over in Saudi Arabia and there wasn't a big bag of money waiting for him to cut down to 126. But I've watched him at 130 these last two fights. Orlando Gonzalez looked strong, looked fit, walking Gonzalez down. Thomas Matisse. A lot of people thought Thomas Matisse might be too much for Raymond Ford going to that fight. Experienced guy, Thomas Matisse. He was wiped out by Ray in that fight. Ray was the stronger guy. He was the more physical guy, landed the cleaner shots. He is a full-fledged contender right now at 130 pounds. And look, while I agree with you that Sugar Nunes looks like the real deal, he's from Sinaloa, he's got the background and everything, you don't know what a guy is and how big a puncher he is until we see him in with a fighter on a different level. And Raymond Ford will be a different level than anyone that Sugar Nunes has faced. So I'm all for it. I think this is the kind of fight that I could see Nunes knocking Raymond Ford out in the first 6 rounds. I can also see Ford winning a wide decision because he's a better boxer than Sugar Nunes. I could also see a close decision going either way. There's like 4 or 5 different scenarios you can see how this fight plays out. I hope they get it together. I mean, Matchroom promotes both these guys. There's no reason to look around at other options at 130. Like, what are you going to do? Like, O'Shaquie Foster, who's got a belt at 130, is probably going to fight Stephen Fulton. That, from what I was told, is that fight's going to happen. You've got Emmanuel Navarrete having unfinished business with your best friend, Charlie Suarez. Like, this is an obvious fight to make if you are Raymond Ford and Eduardo Nunes. There's money on the table. It's exciting. DAZN would get on board with it. It's a headliner. Southern California, hell, go back to New York where Raymond Ford is from, that area, go to Atlantic City. I don't know, wherever you want to put it, I don't care, but that fight needs to happen. That is a top fight, 130 pounds.
I agree. Everything you just said, I agree. And it'll be boxer versus puncher. It'll be tough boxer. Most boxers are tough. They could take a punch. A lot of people don't understand that. So Ray Ford already is confident in his ability, in his strength, and in his chin. So he doesn't need the power. And Nunes brings the power, and he's a good boxer too. He's an all-around good boxer with good technique. But whenever you have that high of a knockout ratio, 27 knockouts in 28 fights, I don't care who you fought, man, you have power. Those numbers are real. So it's going to be a great look on the resume of Raymond Ford. I mean, if you look down the resume of Raymond Ford in his last 10 fights, it's already like, wow. It's an impressive resume, and this kid is still young. He has a lot of fight left. He has a great promoter in his corner. He's staying active. I mean, this is the future of boxing, man. I mean, O'Shaquie Foster, great, man. He's a hell of a fighter. There's good fighters at 130, but I think Ray Ford is making a name, just like Caleb Plant at 168, to be number 2, number 3, and slowly waiting his turn to be number 1.
But trying to think of a name the last few questions for you that matches delicious Ori. I can't come up with one. I mean, shriveled liver is probably the closest thing I can come up to, but it doesn't really flow off the tongue like delicious Ori.
No, delicious Ori doesn't work. How about rico suave Sergio? That works.
No, that's,
Distasteful Chris Mannix.
that might work too.
There you go.